Hey, Dolphins fans, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Miami Dolphins. Today, it's your one-stop shop for everything Miami Dolphins news and rumors. And the best part about it, it's free. The bosses have told me if we get more subs, that'll equal more videos. And hey, we might even get to live stream a game if we get enough subs. So be sure, hit that big red button and tell your friends about us because it's your best place to get Miami Dolphins news on YouTube. Welcome into Miami Dolphins today. I am your host, RC Maxfield. And hey, preseason is officially here. Week 1 against the Chicago Bears is officially in the books. And hey, it didn't go the good guys' way, but there are a lot of positives to come out of it as, again, no major injury as of note coming out of preseason week 1. And we got to see Tua Tagovailoa fully and completely healthy. He went 8 for 11, had 99 yards, and yeah, he did have that INT in the end zone, which kind of blemished his record a little bit, but there was a ton of positives, and we're going to jump into our winners and losers from this game, and, well, Tua Tagovailoa is that first winner for me. Why? He's fully healthy now, and other than that one throw, I thought he looked like a completely different quarterback in the sense of more confident throwing to the outside. The footwork looked a lot better, and also his movability in the pocket just looked completely different from the guy that we saw for half of last season. And now you look at the stats that he had in preseason week 1. Again, nothing that's going to just jump off the page for you other than maybe that one interception. That was his lone mistake of the day, and you have to give credit to the Chicago Bears for capitalizing on it. But it was in the red zone, only blemish he had on his radar. But overall, I thought he was actually pretty good. He had a deep corner out to Mike Gesicki that went for 50 yards. He also threw outside of the numbers a few times, looked good, did have a couple of drops from his wide receivers and tight ends. But overall, I thought it looked like a completely different Tua in the sense of he was more comfortable. They were letting him air it out. This wasn't a dink and dunk type situation. Now, he did have some dink and dunk passes, but that was after he went through his progressions and noticed that the Chicago Bears secondary was playing really, really well down the field. But overall, I think you have to be impressed at what Tua did in his first outing. And most importantly, he came out of it healthy, and that hip is giving him no problems. He didn't even get to play with 3 of his top 4 wide receivers. The only starting wide receiver out there is Jalen Waddle. Mike Gesicki got to play. But outside of that, it was a plethora of backup options, and I thought Tua looked really, really well. But I want to hear from you. You tell me your one-word reaction to Tua's Week 1 performance. I mean, if you're anything other than impressed or excited, I don't know what's going on here. I'm trying to think of another word that you could potentially use for this outing, and for me, it's only impressed. I think that Tua has changed his game in a way that a lot of people just didn't see coming in the sense that they're allowing him to go down the field more. Remember at Alabama, he did that ever so often, but he had guys like Jerry Jeudy. He had guys like Jalen Waddle that are now on the Miami Dolphins, and they did a lot of the work for him. Now it seems like that playbook is opening up just a bit more, and if it does, I think it makes the Miami Dolphins offense just that more dangerous. The next winner we have from game number 1 of the preseason, Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki was coming off of COVID in terms of the reserve list, came back, didn't even know if he was going to play this week, but he indeed did. As Mike Gesicki, when you go on the COVID list, you don't know exactly when they're going to come off. Maybe it's a day, maybe it's 2, but for Gesicki, it was 10. Okay, so he was on there for a week and a half, and he came back, and he actually played really well. But the thing is that I love about Mike Gesicki is that it wasn't just, down low in terms of intermediate routes or long post patterns. It was also in the intermediate there. He did a lot of different things to help Tua when it came to blocking as well. He was in there for a couple of blocking assignments as well. Went deep on that 50-yard catch where he did make a couple of guys miss. And then he also was in the intermediate route and used his body well against some of those Chicago Bears linebackers. And looking at last year, I think this is the kind of guy that Dolphins fans expected, right? You look at what he did, 53 catches, 703 yards, 6 TDs with one long of 70, right? I don't think you're going to expect that big play potential on every play, but it's there, and a lot of tight ends don't have that. So Mike Gesicki coming in the preseason week 1 and having that 50-yard catch and run, I thought that was impressive, especially after missing 10 days early on in camp due to COVID and being on the reserve list. The next winner we have is arguably the deepest position on this team, and that is the Dolphins Secondary, okay? I know what you're saying, RC. Hey, they didn't even have Byron Jones, Xavier Howard. That's kind of my point here. when the Dolphins were playing their guys that even were second teamers or second on the depth chart, whatever you want to go in terms of terminology, they were locking down guys on that Chicago Bears roster in the first half. Now, once you got to guys that were maybe third or fourth on the depth chart in the DB room, things got a little ugly in the second half. But in the first half, I thought the secondary was the major talking point of the Miami Dolphins defense. You think about Noah, he played great. He had a great pass breakup on a long post pattern to Wims where he just got in the way. And really, I mean, that's the positive I take out of it. He had an injury scare right there, got back up, looked like he hit his head pretty hard on the Soldier Field turf right there, but got back up, was really, really good in the secondary, and a lot of guys like Eric Rowe and others were also really good in that secondary. And I think that's arguably the best position group the Miami Dolphins have on the roster. Got to shout out today's sponsor of the video. Of course, it's BetUS. Go over to chatsports.com/bet and get a 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? All right, let's say you deposit $100, right? Again, I'm not very good at math, but even I can do this math. You deposit $100, they'll give you $125 to play with on the site. Listen, $225 should set you straight for the whole football season, not just 1 week or 2 weeks. We're talking about all 17 weeks now. Remember, there is 17 games to be played now, and I guess there is 18 weeks. But when you look at it, this is the place to go. This is the best deposit bonus on the internet right now. Again, head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code Dolphins125 to get your 125% deposit bonus. Again, it is the best deposit bonus on the internet right now, and it's not even a question. So head on over to chatsports.com/bet. Hey, if you haven't already, hit that big red button. I don't know what you're doing at this point. You got to do it. Hit that big red button and help us out. But if you haven't, do it. And if you have, shout out to you. You know where the best Dolphins news on YouTube is. It's right here on Dolphins Today. Let's get into those losers from preseason week 1. And I feel like I'm harping on these guys a little bit, but the offensive line has just been abysmal so far from recent reports. They're trying to shake things up. I think the one guy I have to give credit to in week 1 of the preseason is Jesse Davis. I thought he actually played pretty well at the right tackle position that now it looks like he's got a stronghold on in terms of starting there. But outside of that, on the offensive line, I thought the left side played pretty poorly, right? You saw a lot of the pressure that the Bears got early and often on whether that was Tua or Jacoby Brissett was coming from the left side. And we got to see the offensive line, at least some of those starters, play well into the second quarter, right? Almost halftime for some of them. And it just wasn't good. The interior of it had some flashes of brilliance, but the tackle position, especially on the left side, really, really struggled. And looking at the depth chart, something's got to change here, right? You didn't see Eichenberg today. He was out due to a shoulder injury. Trying to get a little bit more information on that. Just know that he sustained that early on in the week, but doesn't sound like it's going to be anything too serious. Just held him out for precautionary reasons. But Jackson there at left tackle. You got Jesse Davis again at right tackle. Hunt moving into right guard. Again, Jesse Davis is the guy that really stood out to me. But the overall unit as a whole, I think, has to be a loser right now just because it looked like their cohesiveness wasn't there. They need more reps together, and that's hard to do with a guy that is projected to be your starting left guard and Liam Eichenberg not out there. It's just difficult to get those reps and build that continuity for a unit that's supposed to be guarding, the prized possession of the franchise, which is Tua Tagovailoa. But what say you? Are you concerned with the Dolphins' offensive line? Type Y for yes, N for no. I've made it known here on this channel a multitude of times. I am 100% concerned, absolutely concerned, because let's face it, there's not a guy on that offensive line where you look at and you go, that is a stalwart, right? That is the guy that could potentially be a Pro Bowl at his respective positions. I think that there's guys that have that potential, but they haven't shown it on a consistent basis, right? And that is the absolute problem right now with the offensive line. You take a guy like, for example, Austin Jackson, 18th overall in the same draft as Tua, and he just hasn't lived up to the billing yet. He struggled today, as well as Kinley on that left guard spot who replaced Eichenberg, right? The offensive line just has to be better because they are protecting that prized asset for the Miami Dolphins. The next loser I have is, well, it's on offense again. It's finishing drives. I felt like the Miami Dolphins offense was actually pretty good today between the 20s, but once you got to the red zone, that's really where things changed for me. You had that Tua interception in the red zone that was going to Adam Shaheen, right? But overall, I thought they were moving the ball really, really well to get to the red zone, and then they had to stall out. Again, The one play that kind of changed the whole narrative was that wheel route from Jacoby Brissett on the outside to Ahmed, right? But other than that, I didn't think they were very good in the red zone and actually finishing out drives. Listen, field goals are great. I think we all know that. You'll take points when you can get them. But the overall, purpose of each drive is to get a touchdown, and the Miami Dolphins just didn't do that well today, only getting one with the backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. The last loser we have is, again, I feel like I'm piling on the offensive line again, as I mentioned above, but I got to call him out on this one. Austin Jackson, he's got to be better. Simple and plain. You used the 18th overall pick in the 2020 draft to get a prize left tackle at a USC, and he just hasn't lived up to any of those expectations. Now, I get it. He's 22 years old. Listen, I know there is a ton of potential in this guy, but he got worked around by Robert Quinn, a guy that just doesn't play in the preseason all that often, and when he does play, it seems like he gets injured the next week, right? So overall, Austin Jackson to me is the guy that has to step up on that offensive line to continue to try and protect. Well, it's the front side for Tua Tagovailoa since he's a lefty. He's got to be better after the draft capital you used on him. Hopefully in week 2 and 3 of the preseason, you see a little bit more of him, and he looks a little bit better, but it was a rough day in the Windy City on Saturday for the USC Trojan. Again, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Miami Dolphins Today. It is your one-stop shop for everything Miami Dolphins news and rumors related. I mean, shoot, we're breaking the game down right after the final buzzer hits. I mean, Bears and Dolphins were going on over in our main studio, a sneak peek behind the curtain here. We were already over here. Me and Jack, he's repping his Boston hat. I know we don't like that down in South Florida. We're all about those Marlins, right? But we were in here, we were recording as soon as the final second ran off to get you guys quality content. And hey, we won't stop doing that. So hit that big red button and stay in the know for your Miami Dolphins. Let's recap the winners real quick. We got Tua Tagovailoa, Mike Gesicki, and the Dolphins Secondary. Again, the big takeaway for me in all of this was Tua Tagovailoa coming out of this game healthy and also looking good outside of that one interception. And again, I know it was in the red zone. That has to change. But overall, it sounds like from beat reporters in camp so far, that's actually where Tua has been at his strongest in those red zone sessions where maybe his wide receiver has dropped 1 or 2 passes, but overall, he's fitting balls into tight windows. He just couldn't fit it into that one to Adam Shaheen in the end zones. On to the losers again. Really, this comes down to the offensive line, in my opinion. The offensive line just has to be better if the Miami Dolphins want to make that deep playoff run that they're hoping to do in year 2 of the Tua time experience. But Austin Jackson is the main guy that stands out to me on that Dolphins offensive line that has to be better on that left side, and really just the left side in general. But I'm kind of giving a pass to Kinley, who was at the left guard position today due to Liam Eichenberg not playing in the game. But overall, that is the biggest takeaway for me on the loser side of things. The Miami Dolphins offensive line has to be better going forward. But preseason week 1, again, score doesn't matter here. 2013 Bears win. Who cares? You got out of there with relatively no injuries as of the time of this recording, because this is pretty close to right after the game because we're trying to get you this quality content out there. But again, biggest takeaway, Tua looked good outside of one throw. You had Jalen Waddle on the field, looked near 100%, and you got your star tight end and Mike Gesicki back out there helping Tua. That's going to do it for Miami Dolphins Today. I'm your host, RC Maxfield. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Twitter at RCMB. We'll catch y'all next time, guys.